1862, 38 Dakota men were hung together from a single gallows in Mankato, Minnesota. It was the largest mass execution in the history of the United States. A tragic end to what whites came to call the Great Sioux Uprising, and it marked the beginning of the exile of a people.
Major funding for the Dakota Conflict is provided by the St. Paul Companies, Minnesota's oldest business corporation, in celebration of its 140th anniversary. Additional funding is provided by the Minnesota Humanities Commission in cooperation with the National Endowment for the Humanities and the Minnesota State Legislature.
One of the tragic ironies of the hanging at Mankato in 1862 is that it occurred within the same week that the Emancipation Proclamation was issued freeing the slaves by Abraham Lincoln. The great emancipator himself oversaw the whole process, and that makes the ironies all the more cruel. I think that the two most tragic chapters in American history have to be the slave trade in the South and the Holocaust of the American Indians in the West. And those two chapters came together in a tragic way at Mankato in 1862.
As we will see, Mr. Weatherford's statement about the Emancipation Proclamation freeing the slaves was not entirely correct.
By 1864, the country is soaked in the blood of its soldiers, blue and gray. By war's end, nearly 620,000 men are dead. After years of fighting, Lincoln is under incredible pressure to justify the terrible sacrifice and bloodshed. On one side, he has abolitionists clamoring to give the war a moral purpose. But Lincoln worries what freeing the slaves might do to his army. His generals advise against it.
General McClellan is telling Lincoln in no uncertain terms that white men will not fight to free black men. That if you turn this into a war about the Negro slave, then Northern armies will dissolve overnight.
Lincoln faces a dilemma. He needs the manpower black soldiers can provide, but risks losing the white soldiers if he frees the slaves. So he's careful not to reveal his intentions.
While he's publicly denying that he has any intention of moving on emancipation, privately he in fact is writing a draft of the Emancipation Proclamation.
Lincoln waits for a Union victory before proceeding. And when he finally makes the announcement, he emphasizes the practical benefits. The proclamation only frees slaves in Confederate states. It reduces the Southern workforce and adds 200,000 black recruits to Union ranks. At the same time, Lincoln begins to cast the bloodshed in a new light.
He persuaded people that there was a secondary cause to the war, that Union meant liberty, that liberty would preserve the Union. It was intertwined.
Every man has a right to be equal with every other man. In this great struggle, this form of government and every form of human right is endangered if our enemies succeed.
Overnight, Lincoln redefined the war. No longer is it a war about states' rights. It becomes a war for human rights.